Now that we finally finished that massive review, it's time we get to one of the things I've been meaning to do last year, before I lost control of time. And it's one of two products from Mondo TV. Yep, we're finally looking at their first attempt at the Titanic. In the past, I looked at the sequel to this movie, Tentacolino, as part of a Patreon request. Then, me and Huey Toonmore looked at a TV series by Mondo TV called Simba the King Lion, which was kind of a sequel to a TV anime they dubbed Jungle Book Shonen Mowgli, even using assets from that show, even if all they did was knock off Lion King, Jungle Book, and even Kimba the White Lion. But more importantly, I said I'd give this a look since one thing I remember about Mondo TV was that most of their animated stuff came from SCK Studios of North Korea, known for some insanely made cartoons that can stretch into violence, even if it makes no sense to. Yet, given that this is about the Titanic, known for having one of the most tragic accidents to occur at sea, and with well over half the entire ship of passengers and crew lost in the disaster, are they really going to be like what the other animated Titanic movie did by adapting this for kids and actually imply loss of life, since they clearly have no problem with it in their other animated media? Spoilers, no. But why is that? Maybe we'll get an answer here, so without further delay, here's The Legend of the Titanic. And right away, you can tell that the animation is going to be jarring with how things move. The way the cityscape shifts seems off, and it can mess with your perception on how everything is scaled. If you recall what happened in Tentacolino, one of the main characters, Top Connors, was shown to be among the ones who chose to remain on the Titanic after the ruler of Atlantis said they could be immortal, so long as they remained there. But as this scene shows, either this would be the original timeline where that didn't happen, and he just grew old instead, or this future is retconned, and the true timeline lies with the other movie. Either way, these kids are very interested in learning about a major disaster their grandfather was in. Like, yeah, tell us how nearly everyone died! That won't stir any bad memories.
The truth of the matter is that those missing persons were never really missing. It's all misunderstanding. One of these days I'll tell you the whole story.
Yep, they're really going there. After enough awkward behavior from the kids, foreshadowing of a potential villain, and sparkle eyes, we begin Connor's recollection of what was his time working on the Titanic by showing us the humans. I mean, okay, that would be a given no matter what, but it's not like we know he's watching them the whole time, given that he goes to give roll call to the passenger rodents that are boarding the ship as well.
Mr. and Mrs. Angus Wallace Bruce McMouse. Mr. and Mrs. Porrig Liam O'Rat and 2 children, Juan and Evita Raton with offspring, Jean-Luc and Francois Ratatouille, and the Mousetti family from Sicily, featuring Parmigiano, Pecorino, Gorgonzola, Provolone, Fontina, Caciocavallo, Ricotta, Mozzarella.
Hee hee. Otherwise, how could crazy old Connors know exactly what these humans are saying and doing? Because yeah, unlike the other animated Titanic movie, this one is trying even more to be like the James Cameron Titanic film. Here we have Elizabeth, who retains Jane Alexander as her voice actress, like in the sequel, who is effectively our Rose character, in that she's the daughter of someone wealthy and who wants her to marry someone she doesn't like. Now Travers, voiced by Gregory Snegoff, is an even more villainous version of Cal from the Cameron film, as instead of wanting some special diamond, he wants the right to do whaling worldwide.
Cackling. Pray, let me in on the joke. I like a laugh as well as the next man.
Hey, nothing, boss. Nothing whatsoever. I was, simply admiring the masterful way in which you're carrying out this operation.
Yes, things are proceeding smoothly. There's no reason whatsoever why the Duke shouldn't grant me exclusive worldwide whaling rights.
Well, that and how he tries doing it is more villainous than what Cal attempted to do. But then you got the eventual third-class love interest, Don Juan, who also keeps Frances Pardillon in both films, as like the Jack of the movie that Elizabeth falls in love with. Though, while in the Cameron movie, Jack and Rose form a bond after a life-and-death situation and gradually become close over the time they're on the ship, Dawn and Elizabeth's relationship will be more of a day one thing once they actually meet.
You're the best hunting dog in the whole world, Smiley. What a heavenly fragrance.
Then again, maybe this guy is a creeper. Now I don't know how much of an improvement this would have been, but they really should have just kept focus on the animal cast. In fact, they could have gone for their own American Tail-like movie where it takes place during an actual point in history, but show as little humans as possible. That way, they could do whatever kind of story they want, so long as they keep it tactful and not shy away from the reality of the disaster that unfolds. That is, if they really wanted a more digestible version of history for children. But apart from this coming from the same studio that gave us the kind, but not really, Simba, whoever actually was writing for this movie probably was ill-equipped to be writing for something of this magnitude. And even then, the animal drama in this isn't that interesting.
Only please call me Stella. Everyone else does, after all.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Stella. Top Connor is at your service. Oh, thank you, Ronnie. That's very kind of you.
Like, oh, he's interested in a girl who happens to be related to his friend, Ronnie. And what's he like?
I hate to be a spoilsport, but I would like to draw to your attention the fact that she's a woman and you're a mouse.
Well, there's one thing I'm not, and that's a racist. That girl is a masterpiece of beauty, and we Brazilians always appreciate beauty.
Shut up, Ronnie.
Also, this would be considered bestiality, since technically you don't speak the same language as humans and probably have a different understanding of consent. And then, of course, what they end up doing for the plot of the movie that is downright bonkers. But they aren't the only ones getting in on that. For now, it is time to see what happens when Elizabeth, who gets upset that she is being forced to marry someone, cries over the side of a ship.
What's her name? Oh, don't believe it. I can understand them. My name's Elizabeth.
Very well, Elizabeth. Now I'll explain. You can understand us thanks to a net of magic moonbeams that caught your tears as they fell into the water. We added a little magic of our own, and voila! The spell was cast.
Yeah, you heard that. Magic moonbeams plus tears plus dolphin magic equals animal speech. I've seen movies where kids could simply talk to animals for no reason other than maybe just being born with it, and then movies where someone learns it because of simple magic or technology. But this is way too elaborate and situational to really work. If anything, they could have just said the dolphins were magical. It'd still be dumb, but it's easier to digest than moon-enchanted teardrops.
If I could turn into a dolphin like you, that would make me happier than anything in the world. I'd be free to roam the oceans and not have to worry about evil men and wicked women.
Okay, that wasn't too bad. But now we get the real meat of this plot. That, of course, them learning what Maltravers is doing with the whales and needs her help in stopping him. Of course, right now, he's having trouble convincing the Duke to do this, even with the possible marriage. But then, as Jeffrey shows up, after seeing Elizabeth talking over dolphin sounds,
Lady Elizabeth.
Damnation. One way or another, I'll have that whaling concession signed and sealed if it's the last thing I ever do. Send wires to all my captains immediately. Order them to begin the hunt.
You got it, boys.
Just that. Advise our special friend to keep himself ready for action, and don't lose sight of Lady Elizabeth for a minute.
someone's a bit hasty. But wait, it gets dumber.
Hey, what's going on? Jeffrey's my man. Talk to me, baby.
They have a way to communicate with the sharks. I mean, whistle aside, which was mentioned at the start, Jeffrey is literally talking with the sharks. Now, where in the magic book does this get explained? We literally just established, like 5 minutes ago, that you can only understand animals if the dolphins grant you that right with their situational condition. Is it different for sharks? Is that why he can at least talk to them but not hear the dolphins speak earlier? If nothing else, how does Maltravers even know about the sharks and their leader? What sort of partnership do they have? I just don't even know. This goes beyond anything I would have seen from Simba the King Lion, and that insanity wouldn't be surpassed until the sequel. Titanic, The Legend Goes On, made more sense with what it was trying to do. This movie just feels like another SCK studio cartoon, but feature length. So what are Elizabeth and a couple of rodents going to do to stop this? Well, nothing. They spend the day doing nothing but maybe plan? Yeah, she gives them cheese so they can go spy, but what's she going to do? I'm in this movie still. Can't you tell how lonely I am? Also, Elizabeth's mother is in on Maltravers trying to get whaling rights. So the rodents urge Elizabeth to just talk to her father about her opinion of Maltravers.
I have something of vital importance to tell you, Daddy. I have absolutely no intention of marrying Everard. I loathe him and everything he stands for. I'm sorry to upset your plans, but...
Plans, did you say? My one and only plan, dear girl, is to see you as happy as possible. And I would never dream of forcing you to do something you don't want to.
Really? Like, this is what he said earlier when she was saying she wasn't interested in the guy.
Elizabeth, don't be impertinent. You have a position to keep up. Your stepmother and I simply want what's best for our little girl. Try to be reasonable.
But now he's okay with it? What changed? Still moping. Oh right, we need them to get together. Well, through Smiles, who was Smiley in the other movie, but here he also has a British accent.
Sometimes I just lose sight of the fact that not all creatures are created equal.
The rodents learned that Don Juan was interested in Elizabeth, and they agree to help out. But first... And finally, after a few more scenes of nothing really happening, the two finally meet. No, if anything, it's even more forced than in a Disney movie. These two have only just now formally met, and they're bringing this relationship onto Elizabeth because Don Juan felt lonely and needed a woman in his life. This is hardly even a romantic scene when they share zero chemistry. Also, while I understand why the mother wouldn't approve, I still don't get how the father is already on board with her being in love with someone else. When's the iceberg coming? Well, before that, our heroes think that Maltravers is going to do something to this ship. So they tell Don, who can somehow talk to the animals now,
Is in cahoots with Elizabeth's stepmother, that witch. And you know what I always say? Never trust anyone who lives with a cat.
Fuck off, you stupid rats. And this leads to them needing to cut the transmission wires since he's been sending word to his fleet through that. That won't bite them in the ass later, because now Jeffrey tells that one shark, who is the aforementioned Mr. Ice, to have this ship sunk at exactly midnight. Are they seriously implying that the Titanic was sunk not by an iceberg, but through sharks somehow? No, it's even dumber!
We're looking for tentacles and ice.
What sort of problem? What are you talking about anyway?
Well, let's just call it a bet. A couple of my boys think they can heave an iceberg farther than tentacles can.
That sounds like great fun.
That's right, Tentacles is here, and he's even more disgusting to look at than the sequel. Look at his tentacles, they're so bulky, I hate it. And why the canine mouth? And yes, they seriously trick him into tossing an iceberg out in the direction of the Titanic so that the ship rams into it. So it isn't a matter of the crew being negligent in their duty to keep the vessel safe, it was because a giant octopus did it. So since Maltravers is never going to get a formal signature from the Duke, he threatens him at gunpoint. even threatening to kill his daughter and lover if he doesn't sign over the whaling rights. Oh, and the divorce papers. And right on time, as Tentacles throws a really large iceberg toward the ship, and the sharks block the rudder from turning so they can't dodge. All the while, the villain party gets away. Okay, so at least the ship got hit. Will this result in any casualties later? I mean, the other animated movie allowed death to occur. Surely this one will as well. Well, it's not 100% certain, given we saw one person get crushed by a crate. Some people might have jumped overboard already, but based on what we see later and this one line,
There's room for everyone!
chances are slim that even one person dies. So while the human couple go back to look for the father, the rodents check in with the others about what they did to the transmission lines, and they need to get it back up for the humans to send an SOS. So it's looking like it won't happen, but Mustache Mouse has an idea.
I've got it. Connect wire to my mustache.
Oh, Captain Bear, what a hero.
Bye, whoever you were. So the sharks battle the dolphins, I guess so they can kill the survivors. And Tentacles, in his depression, still answers the call to help stop the sharks. Otherwise, human couple finds the father, and even though they could have gone with him, they choose not to. In fact, they keep going back into the ship just to face danger and then come back out the way they came. But it's okay. Tentacles is convinced to hold the ship together long enough for the remaining passengers to escape, even though by this point, all 20 known lifeboats have to be gone now. And he even meets the human couple.
You're a hero! I'm not a hero, I'm just a kid. The truth is, this terrible thing that's happening is all my fault.
No, Tentacles, it's not your fault. This all happened because of an evil, greedy human being.
No, the sharks tricked me into throwing that big iceberg.
Yeah, let's get to the dumbest part. The remaining passengers get saved due to whales showing up. I guess Djembe is leading them if they're able to carry everyone to safety. And since we can't let one person die, too late, even the captain who wanted to die earlier is saved. Oh, but wait, the main cast is still on board. Time to jump!
Ready?
I'm not afraid as long as I'm with you.
Seriously, you never jump from that high above, even into open water. In fact, I'm amazed this didn't happen. So, they get saved by whales, they somehow find more boats to get in with everyone else, and they get picked up by the rescue team. Everyone lived, except two.
Not all. All except the heroes who gave their lives for the rest of us. God bless their memory.
Never mind, only one person died from this. Well, technically. Maltravers and group are shown to be lost, and given where they are, yeah, they're probably dead. Well, at least the women and their pets are. Maltravers and Jeffrey show up in the next movie. Otherwise, Donna and Elizabeth are to be married, as does Connors and Stella, and get the surprise that Tentacles lived, as did that one mouse. So again, no one on the Titanic died.
That means nobody's hunting the whales any longer. Is that right?
Unfortunately, no, children. there'll always be another Everard Maltravers. Their names may change, but their evil lives on, and the whales are still hunted. Now it's up to you and those of your generation to do something about it.
You heard, children, enough is enough. Your grandfather loves to tell stories, but like all sailors, you shouldn't take them too serious.
Yes, especially one with talking dolphins and a giant octopus. This was probably just crazy old Connors trying to cope with his loss. This movie is just bonkers. I mean, that's to be expected from an SEK studio product, but man does Mono TV ever pick the most insane stuff to distribute. This is literally just fanfiction gone awry, as while it may take place during the time of the Titanic, it does not play out the event close to reality. The liberties they take just to brush aside any kind of death feels very insulting to the hundreds of people who died on board the Titanic, when it's like, oh, they could have lived if magic talking dolphins just gave us whales and a giant octopus. I can't even say this is some crazy Titanic denier's take on things, given one of the last quotes we get, but that doesn't justify the actual content being garbage. In a way, I'd say this is at least entertaining because of how insane everything is when compared to that other animated Titanic movie, but it doesn't make it actually good. Even the other one allowed death to occur, even in its own craziness. This one certainly didn't, and this is from the people who like to show death constantly. The animation in this seems to vary from passable to poorly done. Like, the designs are fine, but in motion you get awkward expressions and poor perspective in the backgrounds. Of course, while Tentacolino would exceed the insanity by actually bringing the Titanic back, how they managed to avoid people dying here will come pretty close to this movie being worse than even that film. It's the sort of movie that should be avoided, yet at the same time has to be seen to truly understand why we find it bad to begin with. If you do decide to see it, bring friends. It's really the only way to get through this without losing your sanity completely. But next time? Oh, we have something that I think is even more insane and bad, but also highly entertaining because of it. Until then, I'm the Media Hunter, media's my prey, and reviewing them my way.
Working all day, now it's time to unwind. Kick back, relax, take a load off your mind. I'll be busting the moves and I'll be busting the rhymes. We'll be busting up laughing cause it's party time. Everybody's feeling fine cause it's party time. Party time, it's party time. Everybody's feeling fine cause it's party time.